guys, I'm Sarah Bendrick, licensed landscape contractor. After you refresh your landscape, it's really important to figure out how to maintain it. Figure out a watering schedule, nourish your soil, figure out fertilizing, and it doesn't have to be all that complicated. Stay tuned to figure out how. When maintaining your landscaping, considering how you're going to water is going to be important to keep your investment alive. Some of us are lucky and we have a lot of natural rain. Some of us are in more arid climates. But whatever it is, you should figure out what type of plants you have and how much water they might need. One budget-friendly way to collect water is to use a rain barrel. You can actually attach it to your downspouts, collecting really nice, healthy water for your plants. There's no chlorine in it, plus it's free, especially in the summer if you're trying to save some money on those water bills. Another thing I tend to do for my clients is to install an irrigation timer, and this is going to water my plants on a regimented schedule, whatever I set it to be. Whatever option you choose, make sure you're watering your landscape as needed. So when you're tilling up your soil, it's a great time to add amendments. And amendments can be anything from compost to fertilizer to soil conditioner, basically anything you might add to the soil to enhance it for your plants. I typically like to use organic amendments or organic compost to add to my soil because it naturally builds up the soil, which will create really healthy plants. The last thing I want to do here is lay down some mulch. Let's talk about composting. If you eat food, which all of us do, you're going to have a lot of food scraps. So recycling them into your landscape with your dried leaves and your grass clippings is a great way to recycle it and create a really healthy garden. And you put that in here, and the idea is that it will create heat as it decomposes and create this thing called humus. Now, humus is this super nutrient-rich soil, basically, that you can add to your garden, and it helps your plants become healthier. It helps the soil as well, and it creates basically a healthy ecosystem for your plants, so they'll be less likely to get disease, and they'll be stronger overall. For this composting bin, we're going to do a mixture of browns and greens. So you want about 3 to 4 part browns, and that could be dead leaves, it could be twigs and stuff like that. Although I tried to stick with things that are going to decompose sooner, like leaves are great. And then also your lawn clippings, mix those in here. The combination of the nitrogen-rich greens and the carbon-rich browns is what's going to create the magic in here that's going to feed your plants. So I'm going to start by layering it a little bit. You could just dump a pile and dump a pile, but when you mix the greens and the browns in a little bit more together, they're going to decompose better. So I'm going to do a little bit of this. Plus, this is really fun to do with your family. I'm going to add my browns from my dried leaves. And if your composting is working well, you'll be able to reach your hand in there and you'll feel heat. That's what it's naturally going to do. When you store your compost bin, you want to keep it in an area that's not in direct sun because you don't want the sun cooking this. You want it to create its own heat. Lastly, I'm going to add my food scraps. We have some banana peels, we have apple cores, eggs, mushrooms, any vegetables will be great. And this is what really breaks down and adds a lot of nutrients back into your soil. Now that I've got it started, I'm going to close it up. This cap has little air holes because airflow is important, at least in this type of composting. And I'm just going to let it sit here. Eventually, as it decomposes, you're going to want to flip it. All the good stuff's going to be on the bottom. There's a few ways that you can compost. Some people flip it more often, some people let it sit for a while, but it's a good experiment to start with. And again, since you eat and you have food scraps, there's no reason you shouldn't be composting. So I'm just going to mix it up a little bit to get it going. But the nice thing about having a compost bin that turns is that you can actually flip it around and get all the good stuff that's decomposed at the top of the bin that you can just harvest and throw in your garden. This is also a great way to aerate it if you need to. You know your compost is done when it's really dark. I think it's beautiful, but it basically looks like really rich black dirt. And it kind of balls up a little bit. And now that's the stuff you want to spread around your garden. You can drop it right on top of the mulch. You can dig it in when you put new plants. You can pretty much put it anywhere and then hose it in. And that's going to really add a lot of microbial bacteria and fungi and good stuff for your plant roots. Composting is also great for people who have to pay to put their clippings on the curb. Now you can turn it into free fertilizer. Hopefully these tips were helpful. For more advice, visit a neighborhood ace.